Greetings and good day. So real quickly, or we'll see how long it goes, I want to talk about democracy. Democracy comes from Greece, of course, Athens. Demos kratos, which means people rule. Demos is people, you get the rest. So back then, it wasn't a democracy, a true democracy. It was a kind of what, well, I'll just break it down. You had to be Athenian, you had to own land, so you weren't a slave, you had to be a dude. So if you were a dude, if you were Athenian and you owned land, you could vote. So, but that's where it began. But anyways, it's people rule, and how the system was, how they rotated, and it was regular citizens going in there and serving the public. It was a pretty good system, especially being for, 2,000 years ago, and especially relative to what we could have today with technology and everything else. So anyways, we'll talk about what we have today. Our democracy, I don't know where we could take it back to. We'll take it back to the Constitution. Now, the Constitutional Convention was a super legal, something that happened outside of the law. It was actually illegal. It happened in secret. And they were, it turned out that they were what they called Federalists and Anti-Federalists. And it was the Anti-Federalists that added the amendments. Think about when you amend something, you change something. So you add something. It is those amendments that give us protection. But that was something that came after. So the original Constitution was not about people rule whatsoever, unless you take into consideration Demos kratos, which is if you're Athenian, you own land, you're a guy, because that's basically what it was, except they added even more safeguards and took away the regular citizen being the person making the decisions. So they created in America, after things like Shays' Rebellion, and I'll try to touch on that later, and even though I've touched on it before, they've created a representative democracy. So, representational democracy. We can, back then, if you were the white landowner, you could vote, but, you just vote, and then the Electoral College may or may not decide that your vote, your people's vote really mattered. But we'll put that aside. I'm just giving you the history. So when you say, it's a democracy, they never even hardly tell us. But anyways, we'll just go with this democracy. Now, if there's a democracy, people have to be informed. If you're informed with lies, if you don't know the truth, how are you going to make the correct decision? If they own the web of information that you're subject to, kind of like the Matrix, how are you going to be able to make a true, how are you really in power if you don't even know the truth? We go back to the Pentagon Papers that were released in the early 70s talking about the CIA, because when the Pentagon Papers came out, people found out that everything they were being told was a lie. And it came out that the CIA had already published thousands of books, already had infiltrated the media, already had done so many things to subvert the free flow of information, which is democracy. So they did things to subvert democracy. Wasn't the first time we had hints of that. Wasn't the last time. So right there, if they are influencing and lying to you, they are trying to take away your democracy. But we don't even have a democracy. Case in point, Ralph Nader, a very well-educated lawyer that's done incredible things to forward consumer rights within America, has fought for the people. His dad used to say, or his dad, when people would try to accost him with their, their brainwashed political beliefs, he would ask them, do you love America? Well, yeah, I love America. Well, then what are you doing to make it better? Because when you love something, you do what you can to help it and make it better. And I guess that was instilled within Ralph Nader, and that's what his whole life was about. Well, he got the requisite amount of votes to show up on the national debates, which was run by a private company. They used our tax money, our police, to stop him from entering that building. They used our tax money to stop our democracy. But whatever, nobody cares. But anyways, it's been like that I mean, who do you think was behind getting Ross Perot out of the race for a while? The same thing. We've had our democracy subverted in many ways. Our republic, our representative democracy, and that is one guy. But that's just what we see. The Pentagon Papers show you a whole other side, and Edward Snowden, WikiLeaks, shows you a whole other side. But that's still not all. You really think we can have a democracy when you got the CIA, the NSA as powerful as they are? They can get a president that think. The bottom line is we will never have any change unless we have a guy that's willing to die, that isn't afraid to be embarrassed, and knows enough information about the world that he cannot be manipulated by these intelligence agencies feeding him their cooked data. And why do I say that? The CIA has a history. You go into John Perkins' History of American Empire, has a history of subverting democracy and installing dictatorships favorable to American capitalist interests while enslaving those countries in order to extract their resources, keep them in poverty, so we can point at them and say, look how bad those brown nations are, or whatever, all the while we steal the resources that otherwise would have been sold and money created to fund social programs and public works programs that would have helped the people in those nations. Of course, they either corrupted those guys, blackmailed those guys, or assassinated those guys and put in basic Europeans, whites, Jews, whatever, into positions of power. And they put a bunch of money in the bank accounts and or in offshore accounts for the leaders, got their kids to go to great American universities, yada, 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 and the whole country's fucking destroyed. Well, I'm saying the CIA has a history. They know how to do that. So what makes you think when you have Donald Trump coming in who says venereal disease was his own Vietnam? You know what type of, I read his book, The Art of the Deal, and you can tell he's not the guy. He's not the guy that you would want as a leader in many instances. Morally, analytically, but that's kind of a side note. But you think that they can't control this guy? You think he's willing to die, willing to be embarrassed? Think about what they did as soon as he went in there, after he was talking all that smack on him. And you have that piece of shit Schumer saying, oh, they have 6 ways to Sunday to get back at you. Him, McCain, some of the most corrupted piece of shits there are in the government. But anyways, you think that they're not going to be able to influence him? Guaranteed. He sits. Well, I can't guarantee it. I wasn't there. But what do you think about this? What do you tell me what you think? Donald Trump thinks he knows what he's talking about. He made a lot of great points, and he talked about the deep state and everything. Media right now is owned by 5 companies, but that's a whole other subject. Yeah, we think we're going to get democracy when it's 5 giant companies that own a bunch of other companies. You think they're going to be reporting on their other companies that they own shares in, how bad they are? You think they're going to be upsetting the CIA and then getting blocked from any further news stories? You think they're going to go after the establishment, which can finally give us the people's rights back under the things like the fairness doctrine, bring that back and just whatever, and use antitrust laws that were originally installed basically by the people, not the power structure. A president was assassinated before those laws were put into place, and they were assassinated for the people by a person of the people. So that's how they came to be. And you had Upton Sinclair's A Jungle. They read it. The president at the time read it, understood it, and then he created the antitrust laws. Well, that was generations ago, and there's been a lot of misinformation and the lies. They just keep telling the lies, and you got people believing the lies, and they come to power, and it's this big vicious circle of lies. I'll finish up in a little bit. So basically, what I'm saying is, all those so-called patriots, those guys that believe everything the leaders say and think that Spawn's okay with me because I don't do nothing wrong. So look at me all you want, or whatever. I don't even know those people exist, because they probably do. But when you give, or when an agency rather takes, because the Patriot Act was written before 9/11. They had been talking about it for a long time and had been catching a lot of flack for already doing this stuff for a long time. You think an agency that has that kind of power and that is known for assassinations, I mean, they've made devices where they can shoot you with this thing, it dissolves, leaves a tiny little mark, and you have a heart attack. It's untraceable. They designed that. You think an agency that does that? You know, JFK was assassinated. You know what he said? He wanted to break the CIA into 1,000 pieces. And he didn't like the Federal Reserve very much. He was a guy that was in there because he had ties to bad people and he conned them, but when he got in there, he was going to do what was best for his country. And they murked his ass. They murked his ass. Well, somebody did. He got murked. But you know, the biggest difference between like a traditional autocratic government, like a dictatorship, and a quote-unquote democracy really is not people power. It is the illusion of people power. It is propaganda. And you got Edward Bernays, who was related to Sigmund Freud, who, you know, migrated around World War II from Austria. Anyways, they were all behind propaganda. America's like the father of propaganda, not Joseph Goebbels, however you say it. Goeb, whatever the... Anyways, the minister of propaganda in Nazi Germany. And who knows how many of those quotes are real that, you know, tell a lie enough and it becomes the truth. I'll finish up in a second. So anyways, we're like the fathers of propaganda, you know, and we only... You know, but they tell us that this type of stuff only happens in like, you know, communist regimes, which, no, they're far behind what we have. I mean, we live in, we're like fish in water, never knowing that there's, you know, a world outside that's completely different. But anyways, we're sophisticated now, and you know, the CIA has been working at it for a long time. Other groups taking over in positions of power. They don't need, under regular circumstances, any longer to assassinate a president. Like I said, he's got to have those three characteristics I stated earlier. Because someone like Donald, think about how much dirt he has. The shady deals, the women, who knows? I mean, I don't know, drugs, I don't know. But think about the dossier that they had on him, like, okay, so this is what's really going on, you dumb idiot, blah, blah, blah. And moreover, we got all this shit on these documents, well, I mean, we wouldn't leak them, but, you know, if you've made a lot of people mad at the agency, so they might be coming out any time. I would suggest that you cooperate and, you know, change your perspective on this and this. And moreover, this is why you're going to do it and be a good person for it. You're doing the right thing by protecting your own ass. You think that's not going to happen? Or do you think they're going to go in there, we're really upset, and, you know, us and the Five Eyes and Israel, we all have information against you. And that's the thing. It's all the former British, English, white colonies are still, there's no tighter international relationship between them than there is between America and Britain. And whether that goes back to the War of 1812 when, you know, after we wanted to get their banking system out of there or whatever, there's just so many instances where it looks like they still have control. But the thing is, our intelligence agencies share all our information with them and Israel. So any one of those people can go and blackmail anybody, position of power, rich person, anything they want, any influential person, by the information. Foreign governments, because of our intelligence agencies, can go there. Think about Mossad, think about Israeli intelligence going there. You think they wouldn't have a fake FBI badge or a fake whatever CIA credential and say, this is the information we have on you, and we need your help for national security, and empty your bank accounts right now. or this information is getting turned over to the local authorities, or we're going to prosecute you via the FBI or via the federal system, whatever. You don't think that stuff ever goes on? You think that the CIA would just sit there on the sidelines? We're really upset that you dropped so many dimes on us, that you gave up so much information about us, or made us look foolish. And we could hack everything you have and put it all out here and lay it and get revenge, but we won't do that. If you believe that, man, I got something to sell you.